Suppose, to make it clearer, I replace the universe by a jet engine, and we're asked to explain it. Well, we could explain it in terms of the laws of nature, mechanical aeroengineering, and so on. Or we could explain it by saying it was the personal invention of Sir Frank Whittle. It would be utterly nonsensical to ask an audience to choose between the two. Do you accept that the aero engine came about by, I suppose, unguided natural processes arising from the laws of physics, or by Sir Frank Whittle's inventive genius? And you would say that's absurd. To give a complete explanation, which is not merely a scientific explanation, you of course need both. I find school children can follow this. I find Dawkins cannot. I wonder why there is a difference. Perhaps I'm scared now that he's descended to writing books for school children. But anyway, this seems to me to be immensely important, that God as an explanation is not the same kind. I think it was Richard Swinburne who once said, I do not deny that science explains, but I postulate God to explain why science explains. God is, in that sense, the ground of all explanation. And so at that level, the explanations are complementary. And it is noteworthy that this category mistake that Hawking, following Dawkins, makes was not made by Newton, at least not in the context of the law of gravity. Because when Newton discovered the law, he did not say, now that I have the law of gravity, I don't need God. What he did do was write Principia Mathematica, the most famous book in the history of science, expressing the hope that it would persuade the thinking man to believe in God. But there's more to be said. The laws of physics can explain how the jet engine works, but not how it came to exist in the first place. It is self-evident that jet engines could not have been created by the laws of physics on their own. That task needed intelligent input, creative engineering, the work of Frank Whittle. But not even the laws of physics, plus the creative genius of Frank Whittle, could produce a jet engine. There needed to be some material stuff subject to those laws that could be worked on by Whittle. Matter, ladies and gentlemen, may be humble stuff, but it isn't produced by laws. Now, the jet engine can help us further, because it helps us to see where some of the possible limits of science are. And as one of the general points is often made, people say that science, generally speaking, asks the how questions. How does the jet engine work? Or the why question regarding function. Why is this pipe here and why is that one there? But it doesn't ask or answer the why questions of purpose. And of course, that is why Whittle himself will not normally appear in any lectures one might give on aerodynamics. You see, as a mathematician, I'm often faced with Laplace's famous statement to Napoleon when Laplace, a brilliant French mathematician, had presented his book to Napoleon, and Napoleon said to him, and where is God in this? And Laplace's reply was, je n'ai pas besoin de cette hypothèse. I don't need that hypothesis. And of course he was dead right. If I'm explaining how a projectile moves in a parabolic orbit in a vacuum under gravity, I don't mention God either. But if I were asked, or if Laplace had been asked, why is there a universe at all which obeys these laws? He might have had to mention God, mightn't he? He was answering the right question, of course, with the right answer. As to its relevance to the existence of God, it has, of course, none. And, of course, that is what many scientists and others do with God. They define the range of questions which science is permitted to ask in such a way that God is excluded from the start, and then some of them go on to claim that science proves that God is unnecessary. That is very curious, a bit of logic, isn't it? And they often fail to say that it is their assumption, their atheist worldview, not science as such, that excludes God. I hope you've noticed, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that the scientists didn't put the universe there. Indeed, I'm often tempted to reflect, because it keeps one humble, that any scientist studies a given with a given. The universe is a given. The human mind is a given. So we ought to be humble enough to realize that what we're doing is studying a given with a given. But if scientists didn't put the universe there, neither did their theories, nor the laws. And yet Hawking seems to suggest they did. Is the unified theory so compelling, he wrote in A Brief History of Time, that it brings about its own